What's up, YouTube fans? Today we're going to do a comparison of the Keats Fantasy Club Grand Raijin with the Fans Hobby Power Baser. Both versions of a Masterpiece Scale Super Ginrai, or if you're in the US, you may know him as Power Master Prime. So these were sent to me by Dr. Diecast. Thanks to him, he's almost single-handedly keeping my channel alive. There are a few other people who sent me stuff, but definitely sending the most stuff, so I appreciate that. I don't have this copy, but I do have a version of this, the exclusive that came out from Chosen Prime. So I appreciate him sending both of these. Now, I try to be as objective as possible with these comparisons, but of course there's subjectivity involved when you're comparing things like this. So if I pick one and you prefer the other, then you win. I really try to do these comparisons until people decide what direction they want to go with their collection, which includes getting both options if that works for you. With that being said, let's get started. We'll start off with accessories. All right, so here's all the accessories they come with. And they do look kind of naked without the shoulder cannon, so I'll put those back on after this. But both come with a set of guns. The Fans Hobby does have a little bit of paint on it, but they both have that. These actually come apart, so the core robot will have a smaller gun. I wish that these did that, because the bigger guns, you know, it's a reuse of the bigger guns on the smaller one, but either way, they both come with that. They both come with the shoulder cannons. The KFC ones are painted, whereas these are just done in a gray plastic. Here's what you're left with. You get a whole bunch of stuff from KFC. You get two alternate faces with the little beard part, which I think looks very cool. You get this alternate head, which, by the way, I don't have the alternate head for this guy, so this would count up or match up with the alternate head for this one. So just imagine I'm holding another one here, but this one has a light up feature, which I thought was very cool. I think you press here. I don't have the batteries in there, but all of these faces can be put on here and then it lights up. So I thought that's really cool that they gave you that feature. So we'll count this as even, but these extra faces are definitely going to go towards KFC. You get the alternate shoulder panel pieces. You do get the alternate hands, so if you want the red and blue versus just the all red, you can do that. And you get a matrix, of course, which goes in the chest. So we're going to give accessories by a landslide to KFC. All right, next let's talk about the gimmicks on these two. And I mentioned the light up head in accessories. That is actually a gimmick, so I'll consider that as a gimmick. They both have the plug-in Power Master. They both transform, but the KFC has the opening doors in the truck mode, and you can put the Power Master inside the truck, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to give gimmicks over to KFC. I think they just have more options in terms of playability. All right, next let's talk about the cartoon accuracy and the sculpt. Put the image there so you can take a look for yourself. And it's pretty obvious that the KFC definitely nails the cartoon look a lot more. I'm not sure if Fans Hobby was even trying to go for it. It's very stylized pretty much throughout, right? It's more chunky and beefy. The legs are obviously, you know, designed with that kind of cue and styling. But I'm going to give the point over to KFC. When it comes to sculpt, I also think I'm going to give that to KFC. There's a lot of unsightly bits on the Fans Hobby. Namely, like right here, you can see through the middle. Down here, these hip skirts, they've always looked a little weird. The KFC is much cleaner in that area. Same on the back, assuming the backpack stays up on the KFC. It's overall pretty clean back here. Even the legs, you know, it does have the tires back here. But I think taking it all into account, I would say the KFC is cleaner overall and just has a better, more consistent proportion. So I'm going to give sculpt over to KFC. All right, next we'll talk about the paint and build on these two guys. When it comes to paint, the Fans Hobby is pretty light on the paint. It does have the chrome here on the thighs. There are some accents, silver accents, yellow, little tampos here and there. But for the most part, the red, the blue, the gray, it's all unpainted plastic. The KFC is pretty much almost fully painted. The blue, the gray you see here, some of the red, not all of it. The cab has a lot of paint on it. the head. And I forgot to mention earlier, I do have their comic heads on here only because I don't have the G1 head for this guy available with me. So I ended up putting this one on here. But just know it does have a, Toon style head. But either way, I think KFC is going to win on paint. As far as build quality, though, I think Fans Hobby definitely takes it there. This thing has a lot of issues. So some of them being the knees are very weak. It doesn't take much for it to fall down backwards. I've actually had it fall on me a few times, so I've had to be very cautious. Also, I feel like this joint right here doesn't work. But the biggest issue is this panel right here. And I posted some pictures online, and somebody said, oh, I didn't have any issues. And I said, well, how did you get the chest to peg in? Because mine just pops out. And this is a replacement chest, by the way. They have the old piece, and there's a new piece provided with this cab. And they said, oh, well, you have to, come to the bottom here, and you have to chisel away a little bit of plastic. So I'm like, okay, well, if you have to chisel away plastic to make this fit, then, it doesn't fit, automatically, then that's definitely an issue, right? People shouldn't have to chisel away plastic. So I'm going to give build quality over to Fans Hobby. I think they did a better job overall, and those little kind of fit and finish issues don't really exist here. All right, now I'll take a look at the articulation on these two. In order to do that, we'll articulate each one individually so you can see how they perform. For the KFC, we have the head on a rotating swivel. It's up to there, down to there. Oh, this chest is really coming out now. Rotates around, but you can see there's a screw there which allows side-to-side motion. So that was an interesting way to get that movement in there. Shoulder rotates around on a ratchet. Out to the side, it will move this little shoulder piece out of the way as you open it. And it gets up to there. It does collide a little bit, so you can only go so far before it collides. Not a big deal. The cannon itself can rotate up and down on this hinge. It is pegged into the side of the arm by default, so it tends to start coming off if you take it off that peg. So just leave it pegged in there. Otherwise, it's kind of frustrating. Talk about those knees in a second. You have a rotation here at the bicep and a rotation at the elbow. Double jointed elbow does get you the full bend, almost the full bend. Rotation at the wrist, individually articulated fingers at 1, 2, 3 pins, thumbs on a ball joint and a pin. Nicely done hands. And I did mention they have the swap out color gimmick, so you can have red or blue. Stay together with it. You have a waist rotation on a ratchet. You have an ab crunch on a soft ratchet. It gets down to there before the weight takes over, so you can get ratchet up to there. There's a lot of weight up here, just FYI, because it's a lot of die cast in there. Coming down to legs, you have 3 hip skirts, front, side, and back. Leg will kick up to there. Back to there. And this likes to come out. That's one of the issues. It does have a double jointed knee. It's just hard to get both engaged, but it does have the double joint. And the knee ratchet itself, it could stand to be tighter. That was one of the issues I talked about during build quality. You have ankle tilts, and you have, come on, you have a little bit of a toe tilt forward and backward there. You do have this side-to-side tilt, which is an extra point of articulation. I just wish it was tighter. It kind of is an irritation more than a help because it's often tilted when you don't want it to. That's it for the KFC. Let's take a look at the Fans Hobby. So the Fans Hobby, the head is on a ball joint. Up to there, down to there, rotates around, and you get the side to side. Cannons can also rotate. Shoulder can rotate on a ratchet joint. Out to the side, oops. Out to the side on a ratchet joint. I guess you can lift that too if you want to. But rotation at the bicep. You have a double jointed elbow, gets you the full bend. Rotation at the wrist. Individual articulated fingers at 3 pins, thumbs on a ball joint and a pin. So similar there. You have a waist rotation. These hip skirts sometimes get in the way, so just lift them up. But you can rotate around. There's a hidden ab crunch. It's actually kind of hard to see, but it's down here on this hinge. And it's a little awkward doing it, but it does work. It does have an ab crunch. Hip skirts are on the front and sides. They do rotate as well. Legs will kick up to about there until it collides with this. You can get that out of the way, but I do find these to be obnoxious. Back to there, up to the side on ratchet. It does hold. Rotation of the thigh, I forgot to mention, he also has a rotation of the thigh. Double jointed knee gets you a little bit more than 90, just due to the sculpt. And you have ankle tilts on a ratchet, about 2 clicks, and a forward movement on that toe. So very, very close, very similar on the articulation, but because the KFC does have a little bit of extra articulation with side-to-side movement, although I hate it, on the abs, as well as it does have a splay out on the fingers, I'm going to give it over to KFC. All right, now let's take a look at the transformation and engineering. When it comes to transformation, I definitely prefer Fans Hobby. When Dr. Diecast sent this to me, I took it out of the box and transformed it, no problem, without any instructions from years ago. This guy, lots of little weird things, as like sliding pins. There's sliding screws, weird clips that don't necessarily hold, all sorts of strange hardware on this, and then some of the hardware doesn't even work, like this right here. This transformation piece just doesn't work. So I'm going to give transformation over to Fans Hobby. They just overall, it's more fun and intuitive. Comes to engineering, this is tough for me, but I do think KFC did a better job at hiding away, especially the panels. I mean, look at the legs. You see, they just kind of lazily put the panels on the outside. Same for the upper body. There's more panels sticking out on the Fans Hobby than on the KFC. Mind you, the build quality on this is not great. Nothing holding this. It's just this friction. But it's cleaner and it looks more accurate overall. So I think it's pretty cool engineering they did here on the legs, especially to get it to be able to do that. So I'm going to give engineering to KFC, even though I don't think they deserve it. All right, and there they are in their alt modes. And I hope you guys appreciate me transforming this. What a nightmare. But both pretty cool looking alt modes. And just to show you the whole thing, because they're pretty kind of big, hard to fit on camera. Here's the KFC. Trailer's pretty long, but it does look good. Cab does look good. And all the weapons, obviously, they mount on top. And then here is the Fans Hobby. I do think the trailer is a little bit more broken up on the Fans Hobby. And also, let's just bring these back here. I think the cabs, especially the cab on the, this is the problem. Gets very tight, but the cab on the Fans Hobby is not the best, especially when you look at the back. It's very, very stylized. Here is the KFC. I just think they did overall a better job, not only on the cab and the look of it all the way around. You know, little details like the tail lights, the smokestacks being a little bit longer. These don't extend. The way the Power Master fits inside. Overall, I do think KFC nailed the vehicle mode a little bit better, and the trailer is a little bit cleaner. Just fewer breakups. So I'm going to give alt mode over to KFC. Next, let's take a look at the cost on these two. And as always, I use the prices from ages 3 and up because they don't monkey with it. The Fans Hobby Power Baser comes in at $220 for this version of Power Baser. The KFC comes in at $200 just for the trailer, and then another $150 for the cab. totaling $350. So we're going to give cost over to Fans Hobby. And the final factor here is the members' choice category. We ask my members which one they prefer, just based on their own personal preferences and no other factors. And this one completely shocked me. I was totally expecting the crowd to pick this one just because it's more accurate. But surprisingly, Fans Hobby won the members' choice category. So final thoughts on the comparison. You can see the score. And KFC is going to take this one. And I am a little surprised. I wasn't expecting to win by such a large margin. But what really surprises me is, for my personal preference, my personal taste, I really can't stand this guy. And let me explain why. So my day job, I'm an engineer. And I work from home sometimes. And these two guys were sitting on my desk for about a week because other stuff came in. I didn't get a chance to finish it. And every once in a while, I'd mess with them. I'd pick them up, play with them a little bit. And pretty much every single time I picked this guy up, something would fall apart or come off. Like these guns, they just don't stay in the hands very well. They're, whatever reason. Now, they work better in the hands of the core robot. Say for this backpack, it doesn't really stay. It falls off very easily as you're posing him. And then one of the most frustrating things is this panel up here, which is new, right? They gave it to us with this. It doesn't fit, and you have to shave plastic to make it fit. I mean, all those little things are issues that I consider engineering problems, right? And as an engineer, I expect things, one, to last, and two, to work as intended, right? They designed it a certain way. It should work as intended. And I don't think that KFC has that mantra, right? They look really good. I think a lot of people were waiting for a more accurate version of Super Ginrai, and this fills that. So people are willing to kind of forgive and forget a lot of the issues that this has, including the weak knees, the falling guns, all that stuff. But if you really want an accurate looking Prime that does a lot, I mean, it did win all those categories, then I think you'll like the KFC. But if you're like me and engineering is a top issue for you, or a top trait for you, then I think Fans Hobby is the way to go. It just is the more stable and more well-built thing. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks again to Dr. Diecast for sending both of these guys for a review. We'll see you next time.